welcome to the 54th episode of Recluse Horror. It's 54, right?
I don't know.
Pretty sure it's 54. Look it up for me. 54th episode of Recluse Horror. This is a daily horror movie review podcast. So just a little background on the project. Back in April of last year, I decided I wanted to watch and review a horror movie every single day. I have done so for the past 322 days. So each episode, we usually talk about two movies, one of which I've reviewed previously in text, in which I just, go over whatever impressions I have left, aided by the text reviews, and one that we've watched that very night, usually in backwards order of what I just said, because I'm all discombobulated today. But today, we're actually going to at least briefly talk about three movies. Huh, Samuel?
If that's how that works, yeah.
With me today, again, is Sam. I decided I wanted to do everything backwards, so.
Yo.
So yeah, we're going to talk about the Cloverfield movies. Full disclosure, I have very basic memories on them all as a series, so my impressions are pretty outdated, and
I have a very detailed timeline and universe breakdown.
Is that right?
80 now. Not at all. I'm not even sure how they're movies, but we'll talk about it.
Agreed. So we're going to start with just Cloverfield, the first one, I guess, since doing them in reverse order seems silly. I actually would swear to the fact that I did a text review on 10 Cloverfield Lane, but I guess I didn't, because it's not showing up in the places where I've posted them, and it's not in my device where I keep almost all of my reviews. But I would swear that I had reviewed that.
I'm pretty sure you didn't.
Yeah.
But we're talking about Cloverfield, the first one from 2008.
Yes.
Do you remember seeing this movie when it came out?
I did not see this movie until a couple of years ago.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah.
And people
were so hyped on it when it came out.
I know, and that, I think that helped me enjoy it later, because it was probably 5 years after it was out or more when I saw it.
Yeah, that's me too. It was more than 5 years. It was probably 6 years or 8 years.
But what did you like it?
I feel like I was more disappointed with it then than I am now.
Uh-huh.
I remember everybody that I knew at the time was just ecstatic about it. Even the people that I know who don't watch horror movies. I did know a couple of those at one point, and they were still hyped on it. So, when I did see it, it definitely didn't live up to that expectation. But as for a weird, found footage-y, action-y, monster-y, whatever-y movie, I've seen probably a lot worse.
Right. This one, Cloverfield, is probably my favorite and least favorite movie out of the Cloverfield series.
I kind of get that, actually.
And it's just so mismatched and so disjointed. Mm-hmm. There's really good stuff in it, but really fucking shit-ass bullshit in it.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a good example. TJ Miller and Lizzie Kaplan are in it.
Right, they're great.
And they're great. Not very much in this movie.
No.
But they're still
Lizzie
great.
Kaplan's okay.
Yeah, she's less not great.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way this movie is. It takes an idea or something and makes it less great than it really could be.
Yeah.
It's like they tried everything to make it not good.
I think it's funny that they both went on to be comedians.
And it came out okay.
Yeah, it came out okay. Yeah. I think it's funny that they both went on to be comedians, but at this point I don't think. I mean, they had done a couple of things, but this is fairly early in their careers, and this is,
I guess
is
comedians is a relative
term. I mean, they're both comedy movie actors.
To some degree. They've been in comedies, yes. Yeah, they're comedians or actors in comedies.
I've seen almost nothing that TJ
well,
Miller
definitely TJ Miller, and TJ Miller does stand-up.
Yeah, he does stand-up.
I was more talking about Lizzie Kaplan.
I think Lizzie Kaplan used to do stand-up too, but I
don't think that's true.
She was great in Party Down. She was great in Mean Girls that you made me watch 55 times.
She was great in Mean Girls.
56 times? I had never seen that before I met you.
That's a serious role, a serious movie. Oh my God. Yeah, but she was in True Blood. Was that? And that's
she
a
was
comedy.
In True Blood?
Yeah.
I have no memory of that. It must have been before I knew who Lizzie Kaplan was.
I've never seen True Blood, so she was 127 hours.
I think she's only in that for a minute.
Which I didn't watch either.
Yeah, I saw that.
She's been in a lot of comedies.
Like, most of the stuff that I've seen her in, and most of the stuff that she's known for, like Party Down, is comedy.
Her best stuff.
Her best stuff is comedy stuff. And
I'll give you that. I'll give you that one.
I'm not a comedy person, and I still think that's one of her best things. So, yeah, if you guys, by the way, sidebar, if you guys have not seen Party Down, it was a series for, was a Star?
Stars?
Star, yeah, that's what I meant. Star's original series or something about these people who they're trying to be actors in Hollywood, but they're also working as caterers, which is like actually kind of true to life. A lot of people in LA do that. Because it's decent money and flexible hours, but yeah, it's kind of hilarious, and it has a ton of comedians that you probably know now, like Adam Scott and Lizzie Kaplan and a few others, but like before they were kind of a thing. So
more or less, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
very good. Yeah, it's on Hulu.
Yeah, it's on Hulu now. It was on Hulu. I think it's still on Hulu. But yeah, it's very good, and I don't like comedy series very much. So.
Yeah, okay, so my biggest problem with Cloverfield is, like, everything seems like it should be good, but it's not. Even it
doesn't fit together well.
Yeah, even a lot of the found footage stuff has really good shots.
Mm-hmm.
It feels really good, but then something happens, and they shake the camera insanely, and
mm-hmm.
You're like, yeah, I guess that is what would really happen, but
I don't want to see that.
It's very annoying.
Yeah, I get motion sickness, bros.
A lot of stuff like that. I don't know. Is there really much more to talk about?
The
end's pretty bad.
The end is one of the most disappointing things about this movie. I think if you like these weird action, like, disaster, whatever, this movie has a lot of different genres involved in it. I know it's often called a horror movie, but I would say horror is like one of the lighter
it's more of like a
it.
disaster movie.
Yeah, it's much more of a disaster movie. And you'll find that throughout all of these reviews, is that all of them are kind of horror. But yeah, I don't know. I like this one more on reflection. I think I remember being pretty like, what the hell, by the end of it. But there are parts of it that I genuinely enjoyed even in the moment. So yeah, if you like disaster movies or monster movies,
it's a really mixed
action movies.
Really mixed bag when you watch the movie. Like...
Yeah, it is. It's quite a mixed bag. Yeah, I liked the acting. The acting is fairly decent. I don't think anybody's like super bad in this, except for maybe the main guy.
Yeah, the main guy is probably the worst guy.
Yeah, but he's also behind the camera a lot. So
no, T.J. Miller has the camera.
Oh, that's right. T.J. Miller does have the
camera. It doesn't stop talking.
Oh, he never stops.
And that partially ruins the movie because they don't like tell him to stop talking.
Yeah, yeah.
It gets very annoying.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. If you're a horror fan, I would really only go for this one. You know, if you like monster movies or kaiju movies. Other than that, I can't really see much other appeal.
It's like in a kaiju movie where they follow
the humans,
but not like the government or scientists trying to fight. People. It's just the people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's 98% of this movie.
But it's pretty strong on that too.
Yeah, some of that stuff's really good. That's some of the best stuff.
Yeah, it's not as annoying as a lot of those the kaiju movies, the human parts of kaiju movies. So it is
where you're just waiting for
for the action to happen, the kaijus to start fighting again. So, you know, yeah. I don't know. Is that all we have to say about Cloverfield? Like I said, I just don't have very many strong.
Yeah, we got to get to two other movies.
Yeah,
there's more I could talk about, like the director. Matt Reese directed War of the Planet of the Apes and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. But we can't talk about that because we have two other movies to talk about.
We do. We can't talk
Cloverfield.
Cloverfield
Lane.
2008. No, just Cloverfield, dummy.
Cloverfield. Yeah, that's your dummy. Cloverfield 2008 because the reboot's coming.
Yeah. So the next movie that we wanted to talk about, unsurprisingly, is 10 Cloverfield Lane, which is from 2016. And what were your feelings on 10 Cloverfield Lane?
It was okay. All right, next movie.
I actually think it was probably a better movie than Cloverfield was, but also, in what way are these movies related?
They're not related.
Exactly.
And I think it's pretty well known that this was a different movie that they put Cloverfield on.
Yeah, they put the brand on too after.
And then put the ending on. Which, in theory, pisses me off. But in actuality, I liked the extra, like Cloverfield lore that it gave. I like the end. I'm not going to say what happens at the end, but I like the way it tied in and stuff like that. I actually think this movie would have been better if it was half, like, what would you say type of movie this is?
Oh, Fallout or a movie?
Yeah, like Fallout the movie.
Like, yeah. Okay, so let's just synopsize this one really quick. We didn't synopsize the last one, but Cloverfield, it's a fucking disaster movie. Some shit happens and a disaster happens. And so
that's the movie, yeah.
Yeah, and that's a movie. I think it takes place in New York City, but I don't think they specifically say.
The Statue of Liberty, isn't it, remember?
Yeah. So yeah, basically this woman wakes up in somebody's fallout shelter and he's telling her that, the world is ending, essentially. That's like it, right?
Yeah, that's
the movie.
The movie.
Totally different than the other movie. I mean, obviously you still get the disaster scenario, but like you don't really get a whole lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see a whole lot of what happens outside of like the weird, doomsday prepper bunker that this person has come up with, or I guess worked on and made. So yeah, I don't know. What did you think about it specifically? Like,
I think I liked a lot of this movie. I'm gonna talk about what I didn't like first. I like the like tacked on Cloverfield stuff because it expanded the tiny bit of lore in that. Mm-hmm. The problem with this movie, personally, and I feel like a lot of people would rather than not have that Cloverfield like jammed into it, and like it more, and maybe I even would. But since it did, I compare it to that. Mm-hmm. Is that this movie's like 90% not that, and it's like it's such a just like this other movie, and then the end. Because by that time it's like it's basically a thriller.
Yeah, I was gonna get into that.
Yeah,
actually.
It's basically a thriller, and by the time they get out of that part, I was like, fucking finally, this thriller part's fucking over. It's been like, I don't remember how long the movie is, I could look it up, but it's been however long.
Yeah.
And finally they're doing something else, and that something else is like really short.
Yeah, it was.
It's weird like that.
See, but that's also, I mean, it's psychological horror as well. There's a good amount of psychological horror in this, and I think honestly, out of the three of them, this is the closest to a horror movie that you get in the series. There are definitely some really unique things about perspective and like who is being truthful, who is lying, who is real, what is real, all that stuff that I did really like about this one, and I think this one has the strongest script.
Definitely.
And it's funny because it was in no way originally intended to be a part of of the Cloverfield series, or that there was going to be a Cloverfield series.
Yeah, it had been like 8 years.
Yeah, it had been 8 years since the last movie, and now it's
I hadn't
only
thought
2
about
years.
Cloverfield or the idea of them having a sequel in forever. Yeah. And then you get this.
Yeah. So yeah, it's, I don't know, it's pretty interesting. I think it's one of the better ones. The acting is great.
I would probably say on a purely like logistical level, it is the best one. Yes. Everything works the way it's supposed to work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's the best made movie. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would agree. And
the acting's really good.
The acting is super good. Yeah.
And that's probably the strongest point of this movie.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah.
John Goodman.
Yeah, John Goodman, and then John, what was is that other guy? I don't know. Yeah, Mary Elizabeth Winstead plays the lead. Next to I don't know why he gets top billing. John Goodman gets top billing.
Are we gonna have this conversation?
No.
I know why.
Yeah. But the two of them are like the two leads, and then there's a few other characters that you see throughout it, and I think are there flashbacks? There's some flashbacks and stuff.
There's mostly just 3 people.
Yeah, there's mostly just 3 people. The other person is John Gallagher Jr., who's the other person. But yeah, I don't know. I think this one might actually be my favorite. I feel like there are things that I like about the other ones that I enjoy more, but as a solid film with like a beginning, middle, and end, good pacing, good cinematography, a good location, like this one I think I do like the best. You said you kind of like and hate the first one? Or
yeah.
The most?
Yeah, and I kind of just like this one.
Yeah.
Like yeah, it was really, like, I wouldn't have any qualms with being like, yeah, it was pretty good. Mm-hmm. If I told somebody I liked the Cloverfield 1, I'd be like, well...
It does some things really well.
It's actually kind of terrible, but I liked it.
Yeah. Yeah, there are definitely some really disappointing... There's some really low moments in Cloverfield and some really high moments in it. This is very solid, slightly above average for what type of movie it is and what budget range it is.
It's just a little drier, a little slower. There's not as much going on in general. Like I said, like
it
by
mostly
the time
takes place in that bunker. So.
Yeah, like the tacked on part. By the time that comes, I was like, finally something happens. Like it's stupid, but something happens.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Do you remember anything about the effects? I have no memory of the effects.
The effects were pretty good. They weren't great, but they were decently like shot and put together. I've definitely seen better effects. It's at par with the first one, which probably should be better. But I guess it is probably better. It probably is better. It's been a minute since
I think it is better than the first.
There's not a lot. There's not a lot of effect shots till
no
the Cloverfield part, and that's kind of a theme, I think.
Yeah. And then the I feel like there was a really good use of color in this movie, and I don't know why I have that. There is. Okay.
The lighting's good in the bunker. There's the doorway stuff. There's a lot of shadows, shadowing, and things like that.
Well, and I feel like, and just seeing you clip through the pictures, it looks like they did a very good job of like differentiating the rooms. Like it's really easy to make something like this look. They try to do boring.
Natural lighting too, but have a different theme for different parts of the bunker. No, this is like I said, this is probably the best one. Even though
it probably has the least to do with Cloverfield of all 3.
Yeah, it definitely has the least to do with Cloverfield. And I think it sets up the best ongoing story for Cloverfield.
Yes.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah, okay, yeah. But agreed. Yeah.
But at the same time, it's a slower paced movie. It's drier.
Not
obviously,
for everyone.
Obviously you're stuck in the bunker.
Yeah.
So that's like, I don't know. It gets boring in that respect.
I think they do a pretty good job.
No, they do a really good job
staving that off for a long time.
But it definitely makes it a different type of movie, and it makes the highs a little lower. Because like nothing happens for like 90 minutes. Stuff happens, but less.
But it's mostly psychological horror and thriller stuff. It's not the same,
Where, like, Cloverfield 1, a lot of stuff happens.
There's tons of action.
A lot of it's stupid, but sometimes the action is cool.
Yeah, and there's some gory more stuff. More frequently,
yeah. So that's really the difference.
There's explosions and things.
So it's, in a way, it's not even necessarily how you feel about it or possibly what you prefer in a movie. In this case, it could be just what you feel like watching at the time. If you don't want to watch, like, something slow, it's not going to be good. And if you don't want to watch something fast that will make you want to throw up,
then don't watch the first one.
So it's weird. The contrast is interesting.
Yeah, they're totally very, very different. Very mood, tone, pacing. All of it is very different. I think this is clearly the better made movie.
Clearly, yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that at all.
But I think a lot of people would enjoy. I think Cloverfield might be a little more palatable, even though it's definitely it's definitely a worse movie. it's easier to digest for general audiences.
Yeah, it's an easier watch.
Yes,
I think for anybody.
Watch. Yeah, for anybody.
I guess except for the like camera moving bullshit.
Oh yeah, that gets a little
very annoying.
Yeah, it does. I didn't even watch it on a big TV, and I didn't watch it in a like dark room when I watched it, and I still felt kind of sick. Like, I heard people in the theater like literally threw up.
Oh really?
They had I think they had
a warning. Huh?
A warning. Yeah, I think that might have been the first movie that had a warning about like the camera shakiness
and
motion
this
sickness.
Director directed almost nothing.
Oh really?
Yes.
Well, the directing was really strong in this one.
Well,
he should do more stuff.
Didn't help him very much.
Oh, he did Black Mirror. That's the only thing he's done since 10 Cloverfield Lane was one episode of Black Mirror.
And that was in 2016.
Same year he made this.
Well, moving on to Cloverfield. Oh, wait. That was Cloverfield Lane.
Are you trying to take over my podcast?
Lane.
You should do it better.
2016.
That was our review of 10 Cloverfield Lane. From 2016. Okay, so finally, we've reached the home stretch here with the Cloverfield Paradox from 2018. This was released just recently by Netflix. It was a fully filmed movie. From what I understand, they couldn't figure out how to do distribution, and so they approached Netflix, or Netflix approached them or something. And they were like, yeah, sure, buddy, we got you. And just put the shit out there. The movie is about something completely different than the other two, unsurprisingly. In that, basically, they send up a group of scientists to try to solve an energy crisis that's apparently happening on Earth. Using a particle accelerator called the Shepherd. To try to, again, solve an energy crisis. I think they're trying... they're never really quite...
Yeah, like, how are they getting the energy from space to Earth?
That I have no idea. But I think what they're trying to work on is cold fusion.
Right.
But they don't ever say that.
And if they did, they would have cold fusion in space.
Yeah.
Not on the thing about it is
I don't
you
know
need
how
to
get that energy.
Get the energy to the Earth.
Where you just beam it down there?
It sounds like a bad idea.
Seems like
shooting
a really
cold
bad
fusion
idea.
at the Earth seems bad. I'm not a scientist.
I'm not a scientist.
So I don't know the logistics. Maybe it's really easy.
We should ask Chris.
Yeah.
He's a quantum physicist, right?
Yeah, shooting particle beams at the Earth. That was always weird to me. I didn't understand.
They didn't really go very well into
how they were getting energy. I think they were more. The movie makes it seem more dire of a crisis. Yeah. So they're up there like trying to figure this out. But I still think they're in the experimental phases where they're just trying to figure out if it's even possible.
Well, that's what they do actually kind of address that. They say,
yeah, but the situation on Earth seems way more like, oh, if we don't crack this fusion energy tomorrow, we're fucked.
Yeah,
it's like they can, even if they do, even if they will, let's just be in space.
Yeah. So yeah, essentially they've taken the reason why they're on a space station rather than doing this on Earth is because it's incredibly dangerous. It's like way bigger than any other particle accelerator they've ever tried to build. And they don't want to just like irradiate the entire planet or, blow it up or whatever, depending on what happens. But they don't want to risk the entire planet or a good portion of it for that. So they sent them out there into space. As you might guess, this movie is a sci-fi movie. Was there any horror that you remember?
Yeah, I remember horror.
There's like 4 minutes of horror in this movie?
5?
Maybe 5.
I could talk about it.
It's an hour and like 46 minutes. Sam watched it about a week ago, and I finally just watched it today. But this one is the least horror-y of any of the movies so far. Not that that's a criticism, it's just a notation. If you're looking for a horror movie, prepare to be disappointed. I kind of thought this would be sci-fi horror, something in the vein of like Event Horizon or something like that, and they start to go that direction, and then they just kind of veer back and I don't know, abandon that whole scenario. Some of the horror stuff too does not play right. Do you remember that? Do you remember laughing at a couple of parts?
I would argue it with you. I think it is semi-horror. I think the problem is the tone is a lot lighter. Mm-hmm. And I never feel like horror movies are horror-y. I just think this has a more natural light tone than most horror movies, trying to over dramatize.
I like the over dramaticism of horror
elements, and it's just the same to me. Like whether it's over dramatic or just played straight or played for humor, it's like yeah, it's all pretty funny.
I don't know.
That I could name several scenes where like horrible things happen.
There's one
way more than even in the other Cloverfields.
There's one scene that is like straight sci-fi horror, perfect classic sci-fi horror, and then I feel like they never get back to it. There's a couple of other moments where they try to play things and it seems like they're being serious and it's laughable. Like, I don't know. I'm going to pause for a minute. Yeah, so it seems like Sam and I have a difference of opinion about the type of horror and how it plays in certain places.
I guess so.
Like, some of that stuff I thought was laughable.
I didn't think it wasn't, but all horror to me is laughable. There's very few horror movies that I'm like, oh, that was, like, real scary.
Well, no, I'm not scared by many horror movies either, but, like, or things in horror movies either. But, like...
Yeah, but I think you're implying that it wasn't intentional.
That's what I am implying.
And I'm implying it was intentional.
They really should have played it differently.
And I'm not saying they shouldn't or should have. Like, this is definitely probably the worst one.
Yeah, sadly it is. I love sci-fi. Don't get me wrong, I do. As much as I know I have done almost a year's worth of horror reviews at this point, but I really like sci-fi, hard-ass sci-fi. And this felt like it was trying to be that and not making it. It also felt like it was trying to be sci-fi horror and not making that. Yeah, I don't know. I thought, personally, I just felt like it was unintentional. Like, some of the moments that, like, would have been pretty crazy were done with just the wrong tone. And I don't know. I felt like the movie took itself more seriously than anybody else could, but I guess you were able to accept it or find it more palatable.
I just didn't think it was unintentional. I think the movie is very tonally
challenged.
Like, wrong, yeah. I think they didn't quite know what they wanted to be in the movie. And I think that really hurt the movie, because I think there's some pretty decent performances.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But, they're all not great. There's some annoying stuff within that. Mm-hmm. But they never really seemed like they got any sort of tone that made sense for the movie. Mm-hmm. Especially since, like, half of it is feels like it's trying to be Event Horizon really bad or one of those like sci-fi horror movies.
And the other half wants to be Sunshine.
Yeah, and the other half wants to be Sunshine, and that, like, you would think those would be like fine to mix, but they're really not.
They're really not.
They're very, very different movies.
Yeah.
And I think this like falls victim of that. Mm-hmm. Of just not having, and maybe it has to do with some of the edits they put in, because this wasn't supposed to be a Cloverfield movie.
Was it not? It didn't feel like it at all. But
I thought you knew that. Yeah, It was another movie that they're like, oh, we're gonna put Cloverfield in it, and it's gonna make sense, and it's gonna add to the lore.
But it does. That's the thing to me that I did like about this movie, probably, is that it does a better job of tying, just based on the circumstances and the things that happen in this movie. It ties together the disparate other two movies into some sort of uniform, cohesive, like, thing better than either of the other two movies do. The other two movies do not tie together in, like, any way, really, that I have any recollection
and that's probably what I have the biggest dislike for this movie, other than the tonal stuff. Oh, because it's like
a Band-Aid or something?
Yeah, it's like some bullshit, and it's, like, I get the second one, like, okay, they're trying to bring it back, and then this one's just like salt in the wound of, like, oh, well, they're just never gonna fucking talk about
what actually happened in the first movie? Or?
So it's been 10 years since this series has been out, and we know jack shit about it, but yet I keep watching these stupid fucking movies.
Name dropper.
And that's, oh, my friend Jack shit.
Yeah.
So it's like bullshit in that way, like almost to the degree if someone was like, no, they just keep like teasing you. I'm like, yeah. That's what they keep doing. It's dumb.
I do think that they really need to make just a straight up new
They
Cloverfield
100%
movie.
do.
Like at this point, I almost demand it, and I don't even. It's just because they have refused to do so far to make a second Cloverfield movie to like explain what's happening.
Cloverfield 2?
Yes, Cloverfield 2, the fourth movie. Yeah, they need that. I actually, like I said, I liked that they tied all the movies together in some way with this movie. And I thought they did it in a. I mean, it's a pretty obvious way considering the story, the way that it was sort of oriented. But like, it still was like, okay, well, at least there's some explanation for why the first two movies like cannot happen the way that they happen. But I still would like to have resolution on the first movie. I kind of still would like to have resolution on the second movie. I don't think the third movie needs another anything. You could do it down the line. You could, the Cloverfield Paradox, you could make a sequel to that later on down the line. And I would be accepting of that. I think
out of all of them, 2 really needs like a direct sequel.
Mm-hmm. The most.
It would be nice if there was 4 that helped tie in all 3 stories.
Better than 3 did?
Yeah, way better than 3 did. There's no resolution to the first 2 stories.
That's true. There is no resolution.
And I'd like there to be one movie that had some sort of resolution for some of those things. Mm-hmm. All these movies just end.
Yeah, that's one thing.
They just fucking end. They're like, oh, we're in the middle of the movie. Oh, it turns out the movie's over.
They almost all end at the beginning of a first act of another movie, and none of them pick up on it. Uh-huh. Or like they end where a lot of movies start.
Yeah.
In a lot of these cases, and something about that is kind of interesting that it does that to me on an intellectual level, but it's still somewhat
when you do it 3 times.
3 times.
It's like, I don't even care how bad the 4th one, as long as it ties some of this shit up. Like, let's get that dude who fucking did Independence Day to tie it all together and make a fucking movie. Sure, it'll be terrible, but at least I'll fucking know what happened in the movie. Right?
Right, I get it. You know, I was going to say maybe J.J. Abrams or somebody, but I think he produced this movie, didn't he?
He produced some of these.
Did he?
I think maybe just this one. So he has some ties to it.
But anyway, as far as like horror stuff is concerned, there's a couple of bright moments.
I think it's been J.J. Abrams' bright idea to be like, oh, this is a random movie. No one's gonna see it. Let's put Cloverfield on it.
You think so?
I'm pretty sure he's the person who's done this to us.
I see.
He did it to us.
On a certain level, I actually like that they're completely unrelated, but they just, I feel like there should be more that does tie them together, other than disasters. Like, that's really the only thing, is it's 3 disasters that tie these movies together, but they're not the same disaster.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I kind of like that in the same way, you know, if you think of something like American Horror Story, where each season, although there are things that tie them together in certain ways, and sometimes they reference each other later on down the line in small ways, they are complete disparate units. But the thing about those is they're complete stories.
Yeah, these are not that.
These are not complete stories.
This is a thing I had with a comic. I was reading Crossed, and Crossed had been going on forever, and I don't know, I have like 50 or 60 issues, and I'm reading through them, and pretty much that has the same thing where a story kind of begins and ends. And I've probably got up to 60 or whatever issues of just random things happening, which, for a while was fine. But after a while, you just be like, well, could some of this fucking tie together or make any sense or follow up on it? It's just been
universe building.
Yeah, and it's just these little stories, which is fine for a while. But it's like, how long can you do that before you're just like, okay, well, I actually don't care about this universe anymore.
And apparently the answer for you is 50 or 60 issues.
And then 3 movies. So.
3 movies. I don't know. I'm still kind of interested in this. Honestly, like, despite the fact that most of the things that I probably have to say about these are negatives, am sort of intrigued by this series as a whole. I would still see a fourth one. I think that this movie made the right move by not having a theatrical release, because I think if I had seen this in the theater, I would have really disliked it. I think I would have been really mad that it wasn't hard enough sci-fi and it wasn't hard enough sci-fi horror. It tries to play this really middle ground, but it doesn't have the weight of the actual subject matter in its tone. Like, seriously, shit is going down on Earth in this movie. They are really in a crisis there, and they don't sell the idea of like the real effect this is having on the 8 billion people on the planet in any way that like you really feel relatable, even though some of the characters are relatable and they do come back to like people on Earth and how they're suffering through it to a certain degree, or they mention it in dialogue or talk about it anecdotally in dialogue. Like, all of these things should build to something that feels like, holy shit. That's what Sunshine does. Sunshine also, it's a movie from, 2012. It's Danny Boyle and Cillian Murphy. Danny Boyle is the director. Cillian Murphy is in it, and a bunch of other actors too, but I don't care about them. No, they're great. But it again, Chris Evans too.
Yeah, Chris Evans.
But it deals with the same energy, not the same energy, a different type of energy crisis having to do with the sun, essentially. And they are Earth's last hope. And they really sell that. You believe it. Every time somebody does something that seems like it's putting the mission in jeopardy, you start to scream like, no, you can't do that. All the world is gonna die.
Full disclosure, I fell asleep during this movie.
It's very long and
I don't.
A little slow.
I'm more of a Pandorum type of person.
Okay, well
that's... Just stupid, idiotic stuff thrown at you. But quickly.
But quickly. No, I liked Pandorum as well. But no, this is a serious movie, and every time... to me, when I was watching it, I could never get out the consequences of the dumb shit that they're doing out of my head. And there is a character that every time something like that happens, he's like, no, we can't do this. He brings back up, like, all of the people on Earth are going to die if we don't do this. And I don't feel like you really feel that sense of urgency in Cloverfield. Did you?
No, they kind of just mill around.
They do.
That's really the problem with the movie, is you don't really understand. Like I was saying, you don't understand the urgency. If there is an urgency, if there isn't urgency. They say there is, they say there isn't. Mm-hmm. There's problems on Earth that they need to fix, but they need to fix this thing before they can even do that.
Yeah.
So it's very weird like that. I don't know why. I don't know what they were trying to do in that vein. Mm-hmm. Maybe just trying to make it feel uneasy or unsure of what's supposed to be happening. Mm-hmm. But it just didn't play as good or well at all, really, in that respect.
Yeah, this movie definitely has the worst of the tones of any of them.
The other ones, regardless, they knew what they wanted to be.
Yes.
This one seemed like it knew what it wanted to be, but wasn't able to do that.
Yeah.
Because it wanted to be Event Horizon, Sunshine, something.
Yeah.
But it didn't do that. It didn't do. And those aren't even the same types of movies. So they're already trying to mix two different movies together in this movie. So that would be hard to do.
Not Cloverfield. Sunshine actually does have a couple of sci-fi horror moments, and they sell them really well, but that's not the movie. Same thing with Event Horizon. Event Horizon has some hard sci-fi moments, but that's not the movie it's trying to be.
No, definitely not.
This one has both, but it always feels like, no, but this isn't that movie. Whatever they're doing, it's like, no, you shouldn't do this. It's a tone thing. Some of it might be related to, not being able to build the tension right. I think it has a problem with the characters very well.
Yeah, and which is sad too, because I like the characters.
Are good, yeah.
The actors, at least. Mm-hmm.
They don't build them at all.
No, not at all. Baron Zemo is in it from Captain America.
Baron Zemo? Who's Baron Zemo? Yeah, Baron Zemo. Yeah,
one of the guys really from the IT crowd.
Yeah, Chris O'Dowd.
He's really good.
He's the Northern Irish guy.
Yeah, he's Welsh? He's the comic relief. He's the Jar Jar Binks of the movie.
Yeah.
No, he's good. I like him in it.
No, I like everybody in this movie. I do like him in this movie.
The gold lady from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Is her. I knew I recognized her, and I couldn't figure out who she was. Yeah, that's right.
She does a good job. Everybody does a good job. There's other actors that I don't know from anything, but
and the one person whose character that they do build in, it's like you get it so early, and they keep going back.
I know it's like go to some of the other characters, so when
they all have
something
shit
happens
to
him, maybe exactly.
Yeah,
maybe you give a shit about him, and that was I think the biggest thing because this turns into. You see, that's what I mean. This turns into almost a slasher movie.
It kind of does, yeah, for sure.
But you don't care about him. Like in a lot of slasher movies, they don't build them up at all. But this really needed it.
It did. It needed anything. There are so many different ways this movie could have gone, and it just went. It tried to place too close to the middle, and I think it does all of those things not well because of that. Because they didn't branch out.
All right.
They spend a ton of time on that character, and you understand by the end of the second scene
what's happening with her.
And then they never once mention any other relative that anybody else on there has, any other reason that any of these people are up there. So you don't care what happens to them. When bad shit happens to them, you're like, well, I kind of liked that guy because he was kind of funny, or like I kind of like that guy because everybody hates him.
Yeah, I like that actor.
Or whatever it is. Or I like that actor. Yeah, I love Chris O'Dowd.
Oh, that sucks that happened to that actor.
Yeah, I love Chris O'Dowd.
And anyways,
I don't think he had a real moment to shine on
No,
this.
they didn't. It came close.
There were a couple moments.
Anyways, I think that's it.
Tamil.
I'm just saying because I want to hear what your ranking would be.
Oh dear God!
Could you not do it?
I give this movie...
No, not your ranking. 1 to 3.
What? Oh, how I rank these.
Yeah.
2, 1, 3.
2, 1, 3 what?
I like 10 Cloverfield Lane the best.
Okay.
I like Cloverfield the second best, which actually surprised me. I thought this being hard sci-fi, once I realized this was
you like it most,
yeah. Yeah, and it's not hard enough sci-fi.
That's probably me too.
And then 3 is the same ranking.
That's probably 2, everybody 1, in the world. But I was curious if you were going to say the same thing as me.
2, 1, 3. I do still kind of like this movie. I think if you're interested in the Cloverfield, saga, I think you still should watch this. Be glad you don't have to pay $10 for it. Because if I had seen this in the theater, I would have been a little bit mad because this is not worth the money that you would pay for it. Like, some of the scenes are kind of cool and theatrical in a way that would be good in a theater, but the movie itself does not stand out.
It's very slow.
Yeah, it is
in a more boring way than Cloverfield Lane.
Yeah. Yes. True. Because just even when things
because there's no payoff.
Yeah, there's no emotional attachment to anything in this movie.
I think it's a nice addition in the lore.
Yes, like, in the lore.
Even if you were like, yeah, I saw the first Cloverfield, but I haven't seen the second 2. But there's 4 that's coming out. I'm directing it in my backyard.
It's gonna be great.
It's gonna tie in all the stuff. When that comes out, you'll be like, fuck, I'm lost. I haven't seen the other ones. Somebody can explain it to you. You don't need to watch the movies.
No.
They could be like, well, this is what happened and they went here. This is what happened and they went here.
We had 3 first and second acts and no third acts in these movies.
Don't worry, I'm getting all
the fourth one.
I'm getting Ramona Flowers in the backyard to fucking finish her parts.
I forgot that. Ramona Flowers plays the lead.
Lizzie Kaplan will be back there.
Hella.
That gold girl from Guardians of the Galaxy will be in the backyard.
All stars.
I know, right?
All stars.
See if TJ Miller can open up the schedule.
We didn't mention this in the review of 10 Cloverfield Lane, but the actor who plays Ramona Flowers plays the lead in that. I totally forgot that was her. I did. I totally forgot that was her.
Yeah, I'll see what John Goodman's schedule's like. We'll just shoot in the back.
I want to give Dan Goodman such a big hug. I don't know why. He's a huggy guy ever since Roseanne.
If you say so.
I've always wanted to give him a giant old hug.
I wouldn't pass on it, but it's not something I'm like dreaming about.
He's probably in my top 10 people I want hugs from from celebrities. He seems like a good hugger.
That's creepy.
So yeah, I guess that's our review. I mean, was there anything else? I could talk about this for a really long time, actually, because there's so many problems.
I can't talk about it too much more because I want to talk about the Cloverfield stuff, which is all the spoiler stuff.
All the spoiler stuff. Yeah, so and if you talk about it too much more, you're going to start letting them slip.
I'm just going to be like, I don't care about your stupid podcast. This is a spoiler. I'm taking over the podcast. It's a spoiler cast. Spoiler cast. I'm going to spoil all these movies for you. Don't worry. You probably better me just explain them to you. And you don't have to waste your fucking life watching these movies like I did.
Sam, it was a total of maybe 5 hours of your whole life.
I could have done so much. It's going to take me less time to shoot Cloverfield 4 than 5 hours.
Incorrect. Okay, so that's our review. I just want to reiterate, I don't think this movie is really bad. I think my anticipation for it exceeded I would say that kind of works for all of these. My anticipation and my expectations going into it have always been higher than what it was.
And they're never that good of movies compared to the expectations.
Yeah. Other than the second one, which actually exceeded mine. That actually
was really hyped up for me. And I
was it really?
I was like, yeah, it's kind of boring. Why, I'm fine with that. I don't know why you liked it.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people that I wouldn't expect, people who aren't horror fans or people who aren't into stuff like that really liked, who aren't cerebral, meaty movies, liked that second one, and I really still don't understand why that would appeal to them. Still. Like I said, the second one's probably the best. So, but anyway, that's our review of the Cloverfield Paradox from 2018, and that's our show. So, Sam, what are your ratings for everything?
I give them all Cloverfields, each one. Each one, get it. One Cloverfield Lane, one Cloverfield, one Cloverfield Paradox.
Yeah.
They're all Cloverfields. We all Cloverfield it.
Yeah.
It's a Cloverfield.
It's a
field.
It's a field of clovers.
Of Cloverfields.
Spoiler alert. I had a rating in my head earlier.
and then that happened.
And then that just happened. What just happened, and now I don't know what I was going to say. Anyway, so if you enjoyed this podcast for whatever reason, please rate, subscribe, review, comment, whatever it is on whatever site you found us. The best thing that you can do to help out the show is to share it with someone that you love or someone that you think would enjoy it for whatever reason. If you are sharing it with someone who does not use the platform that you use, or you don't like the platform that you found it on, you can find us on YouTube, Player FM, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Podcast Addict, and pretty much any podcatcher out there. You can reach out to us on social media at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and you can email me at reclusehorror@gmail.com. If you have any interesting lore or something about Cloverfield that we don't know about or that we didn't mention on the show, it's highly possible that I don't know anything about it because I've never really read into these movies a lot. I've never been obsessed with them or anything. So, you can send that to us if you have any interesting tidbits or something that we didn't cover in this. I had some kind of a funny rating, or what I thought was funny to me at least, rating for Cloverfield Paradox, and I don't remember what it was. So I'm just going to rate this 4 plot holes.
4 of them, huh?
Yeah. There were 4 pretty big plot holes that I remember, so it gets 4 plot holes. There's probably more. I don't have any ratings for the other ones. Whatever. They're good and or not so great. Whatever. They're whatever.
They're movies.
They're movies. They're honestly, I feel like I like these better in after I've watched them than when I've watched them ever. I feel like whenever I get done with one of them, I'm disappointed with it to a certain degree, and then on reflection, all of those stupid things, the plot holes that are stuck in my head right now from Paradox, they go away over time.
Yeah, and you just remember the good stuff.
Yeah, and so you just remember the things that did work, unless there's something really glaring that pissed you off. And I only think there's maybe one thing in this that really is that bad that I'll remember and retain. Yeah. So, yeah. Is there anything else that you wanted to say, or?
Nope.
Okay. Well, yeah, I guess that's it. Samuel, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Oh, also, watch Sunshine by Danny Boyle from 2012 or 10 or whatever the shit that is. Super good. Super good sci-fi movie. And